I remember reporting on the decline of volunteers at North Country fire departments like 20 years ago. Well, it's only gotten worse, which means your town's ability to fight a fire in your neighborhood is likely at risk. Fire chiefs are in Albany this week to persuade lawmakers to pass a package that might entice the next generation of volunteer firefighters. That's today's story of the day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA, subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, March 5th. First up, workers helped put out a fire in a silo at the bowling pin factory in Lowville. According to WWNY-TV, the plant manager at Quebec AMF thinks a spark from a saw started the fire Wednesday morning. The fire appeared to also catch in the piping leading to the silo. Employees feared it would spread to the roof, so they used their training and started dousing the flames. Fire crews from Lowville, Casterland, and New Bremen responded and put the fire out. The manager told WWNY the silo was filled with sawdust, which is a byproduct of producing bowling pins. Workers are clearing out the silo and will be back to regular production on Monday. The official cause of the fire is under investigation. Advocates are calling for the state legislature to restore funding to organizations that support housing in rural areas and small towns. Samuel King with the New York Public News Network reports the governor's budget proposal contains cuts.
Rural preservation companies, or RPCs, help with things like home repairs, counseling for first-time homebuyers, and assistance after emergencies. But advocates say Governor Kathy Hochul's budget proposal cuts about $3 million from the program, or about a third of its state funding. Antonia Bescalides with New York State Rural Advocates told lawmakers at a recent budget hearing that the organizations are often the only housing resource in rural communities.
Costs for salaries, insurance, fuel, and compliance continue to rise. Reducing funding now means fewer staff, fewer services, and fewer communities assisted.
Advocates not only want to restore the cuts, but also expand RPCs to other areas. Mike Borges is executive director of the Rural Housing Coalition.
There are areas like Western New York and the Hudson Valley and the Capital Region that don't have a nonprofit housing entity that residents can go to for assistance with housing issues.
Hochul has proposed similar cuts in years past, and lawmakers have restored the funding. In a statement, a spokesperson for the governor says she looks forward to negotiating with the legislature to reach a budget agreement. In Albany, I'm Samuel King for the New York Public News Network.
Since the early 2000s, the number of volunteer firefighters and emergency response personnel in New York State has gone down from roughly 120,000 volunteers to 75,000, almost a two-thirds decrease. Statewide, but particularly in the North Country, the population is getting older. More families rely on two incomes, and so volunteerism overall has declined. The Firefighter Association for the State of New York, or FASNY, is hoping to reverse that trend with a new legislative package that would create more incentives for volunteers. Amy Fareisel reports.
John D'Alessandro works for FASNY and has been an active volunteer firefighter in Saratoga County for the last 16 years. He says many people have the wrong idea about who responds to emergencies.
People watch Chicago Fire and they unfortunately assume when they go by their local fire station that there is a paid crew of men and women there 24/7. The opposite is actually the truth.
In the U.S., over 80% of fire and emergency response comes from volunteers. In New York, volunteers respond to over 90% of 911 calls. D'Alessandro says volunteers save New York taxpayers almost $4 billion a year in salaries and benefits alone.
Most communities cannot buy their way out of their shortage of volunteer firefighters, especially in places like the North Country, small communities who have limited tax bases.
That's why recruiting and retaining new volunteers is so important, he says. And FASNY has done a lot of traditional recruiting over the last 15 years, but it hasn't really moved the needle.
We stopped the bleeding, so to speak, but we're not moving forward.
That's where the Volunteer Optimization Legislative Initiative, or VOLI, comes in. It consists of 14 legislative actions, many of them tax credits, geared towards removing the barriers that hold people back from becoming emergency firefighters or EMS personnel.
To attack this problem of, I don't have the time. I would love to do it. I know how important it is, but I can't.
The actions include raising the state's blanket volunteer tax credit from $200 to $800, creating a child care tax credit for volunteers, and even student loan forgiveness. There are also no-cost actions, like doing away with a state rule that mostly prohibits career firefighters from volunteering for another department. He says the idea is to give local departments choices and how best to recruit in their area.
It's a statewide problem that needs to be solved at the local level. So give them the flexibility.
D'Alessandro is hopeful that FASNY's proposals will gain traction in Albany. He says volunteer emergency services have seen a lot of bipartisan support from the New York legislature and from Governor Kathy Hochul in recent years. He says the goal is to increase the number of responders, but also to recruit more people on the administrative side.
If you're a bookkeeper, mechanic, or somebody who just likes fundraising and doing those sort of administrative type things,
D'Alessandro says even a volunteer who's just willing to clean off fire trucks and organize gear after a call could be a real help to many departments. He says he himself spent 20 years driving past his local firefighting department before he joined, and that volunteering has changed his life.
Beyond my family, which is always first and foremost, it's been the most rewarding thing that I have in my life.
He says his only regret is that he waited so long to join. Amy Feiereisel, North Country Public Radio.
How about we end the show with a deep breath and a moment of zen from Canton's covered footbridge over the Grasse River. Our great news intern, Richard Haller, sent this audio postcard.
I'm walking across the footbridge, the SUNY Canton footbridge that goes over the Grasse River. And I just had to pull my recorder out because it's a really gorgeous day. It's been so cold for so long up here in the North Country, and we're finally getting it was like 30, 40 degrees today, blue skies, no wind, no sleet or ice, just clear and calm. And the river is all iced over right now, but there's these little streams that are just trickling through these giant chunks of ice right now. Take this walk a lot because it's just so simple but really pretty and peaceful. There's usually not too many people about. It's about 5:30 in the evening right now, so the sun is setting and it's sort of just trickling through the tall trees, to the tall pine trees that are everywhere on this path. When you go through the wooded trail, there's another fork in the river that another footbridge crosses over, and that's completely iced over. There's actually no water trickling through. It's just big chunks of white ice. It's incredibly quiet right now. I mean, just listen. Everyone's hunkering down for the night. There's like 1 million footprints just crossing over the river. You can see them right in the snow going across the ice. And if you go down this trail, once you get up to SUNY Canton, it actually leads deeper into the forest, where actually all the real wild things are. There's just deer tracks, dog tracks. That track looks kind of big. Don't know what that is. I think today is one of the first markers that spring is on the way. Everything just feels a little bit more rested. I mean, it's a little chilly out, a little cold. I still have to wear a coat, but I just feel it in my bones. Okay, it's getting dark and my hand is getting kind of cold, so I think that's it for me. I'm Richard Haller, North Country Public Radio in Canton.
We have more news all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Great pics. There are 2 of the Canton footbridge that Richard was on. Very beautiful. Music today by Eddie Lawrence of Saranac Lake and Danny Thomas of Canton. I'm David Summerstein.